Good day. This is Gabe Hamda with ICATT Professional Services. We have an exciting preview of the ICATT Agile ISD Practitioner program. And as you see on the slide, this program is about enhancing employability of the attendees and creating jobs in our community. So that's what this program is about. So I just want to give you a little overview while we are on the cover page here. If you can stay on the cover page. I want to just kind of share out that, ICATT has been on this road of using Agile instructional system design since we started business 27 years ago. So in every client project, we've been using informally or in an unstructured way this approach. However, since 2020, since the pandemic hit, we've been able to do a few things, kind of formalize the program and make it available. So we've been working with the ISPI Potomac so that they can credential the program. And following their instruction, we've been incorporating the ISPI performance improvement standards. So that's one thing we've been incorporating. And also, since 2020 and 2021, we've been doing, giving, potential instructional designers, allowing them to develop sample courses, kind of testing this model, as well as using this methodology with our clients. And then starting in 2021, we started formalizing and developing a blended bootcamp training program. So the program intention, this Agile ISD Practitioner program, kind of has three objectives. Number one, we want to transform the candidates of this program. So we want to recruit people with an aptitude, not the experience or background, aptitude such as critical thinking, writing, visual design, technology savvy, people who are kind of develop, online resources. So people with that kind of background, taking them and transforming them into full-fledged courseware developers. So that's kind of objective number one. And the second goal is to use this program as an employability enhancement mechanism, meaning people who are trained in this area, they can either secure employment, or they can do freelancing, or anything they want to do. They can even be in business. So this is to really prepare people for employability. And also it all adds up to creating jobs in our communities. So if there are 5 or 10, 15 people who don't have this background, they have this background and they can get jobs. So it means we are creating jobs. So that's kind of a little background about the Agile ISD Practitioner program. With that, we'll go through the presentation outline. There are 3 of us here. So let me speak about the 3 presenters. One of the presenters is my colleague, Kimberly Leonard. So the few things to know about Kimberly. When you think of Kimberly, think of the ICATT Dream Team. So the Dream Team is where everything happens. It's a newly formed team, and it will be the future of ICATT. And Kimberly and her team have invented a process called Training Reimagined, where they take the courses or content and add a lot of engaging activities so that people can engage and learn. So Kimberly will be providing us a walkthrough of the approach and content of the program, the what. And then Jonathan, who is, when you think of Jonathan, think of a coach. He's actually my coach, Kimberly's coach, and the leadership coach for the whole ICATT team. And so Jonathan has been coaching us and also maintaining the integrity of the program so that the program that is designed is truly Agile at its core. So he's our integrity guy. And my role has been to provide direction. I have a PhD in instructional design from Florida State University. And with that background, academic, and also having used this Agile instructional system design for the last 27 years. So providing program direction and also doing market research. So between the three of us, together, we are the architects of the program. And so we'll be, as I said, Kimberly will provide the kind of walkthrough of the approach and the content, and Jonathan will provide the what, the why, and the how of the program, and I'll provide more like the overview, a little bit of the history, and a little bit about ICATT. So with that said, let's go straight to ICATT Professional Services. Just a little overview about ICATT. The one thing I'd like for you to be aware of is that ICATT has recently rebranded. So we are rebranded as ICATT Professional Services, where we focus on people and data. We used to just focus on people. Yes, we still love people. And so we now make people and data better or greater. So that's one element of our rebranding. Also, we are officially a social enterprise with a purpose to enhance employability and create jobs in our community. So we now have a social purpose for our existence. And also, just so that you know, we want to be a partner or a resource for organizations for, as a source for professional development, talent source, data analytics, and social enterprise. So that's kind of our ICATT's wish, is to be a partner or a resource to organizations we work for. And our service offerings are Career Academy, outsourcing, staffing and recruitment, applied data analytics, and social enterprise. So that's a little bit about ICATT. So in this context, I want to take you to our the ICATT Career Academy Credential Training. So a little bit about the ICATT Credential Training programs is credential programs are universally recognized programs or globally accepted certifications. So when someone has a skilled Agile POPM, whether they are in the United States or China or Russia or in Europe or Middle East or Africa, these programs and these certifications or these credentials are globally known and accepted. Now, with that said, let me just kind of say a few things about each one of the programs, each one of the 5 programs. The Scaled Agile Product Owner, Product Manager is a credentialed program. And people who have this certification are people who are able to kind of create organizational alignment and deliver value. So like if you are in an organization and you are delivering value, you are of the most value to that organization. So this certification prepares someone rather than working in a silo to deliver value end to end. And people with A+ will have hardware and software skills and knowledge so that they can troubleshoot hardware and software. And so this is a good paying entry-level job. And also people with network, these are people who are able to, handle networking, internet networking. So they become internet networking professionals. And Security Plus are people who become security architects. So kind of like giving people profession in these areas. And last but not least, by adding the Agile Instructional Design Practitioner. So the US Bureau of Labor Statistics shows instructional design as one of the fastest growing professions, careers. And they are predicting, through 2029, the jobs in instructional design will be growing, 11%, fastest growing. So we want to prepare workforce and talent to meet this demand worldwide. So this is a little bit about credential programs that ICATT is focusing on providing. Now, with that said, these are programs in which candidates who choose any of these, have credentials. So that's what they become. And now we'll give you a little glimpse as to how we prepare them to have an advantage, how they become employable. So this is how we transform someone in becoming employable. What that means is if there are 100 instructional designers or 100 security class professionals or 200 scaled agile product owner, product manager people, the people who go through our program would have an advantage because, for one, through certification exam prep, we enable them or we prepare them to have a high exam passing success. There are people who take the boot camp and the training program and never pass the exam. They don't have time, there's no discipline, they get distracted. So this will be a structured program. After they complete the initial boot camp, they stay with us for a year in a coaching relationship where we'll coach them to, pass the certification exam. We also assist them in portfolio development. Our dream team has developed a portfolio development protocol or program, self-help. So we coach them through that process, informational interviews. So before someone goes for a real interview, to give them mock interviews and give them those opportunities. We have a lot of success in that area, so that will be included. And also cohort peer support. There are times when candidates are more comfortable talking to their peers, and that can have a positive effect in their employability success. And also a direct coaching support, someone who can encourage them on their path and give them feedback and give them pointers in how they can succeed in the profession as well as in the employability area. Last but not least, professionalism development. Quite frankly, a lot of people who are very successful are people who have professionalism skills. In other words, how about showing up on time? How about meeting due dates? How about doing a due diligence on the assignment? How about being responsive? How about addressing the questions asked? How about following instructions? There are these intangibles which make or break a professional, not because of the technical skills, but these intangibles. So these are processes we use to enhance someone's employability. Now, with that said, let me wrap up with just kind of maybe a few pointers here. Now, kind of more like the history of ICATT, or ICATT as a historical home of Agile ISD Practitioner. I would say, ICATT and Agile ISD have been together since our existence. This is the approach we've been using, and we just came around to formalizing it, making it available as a credential program. And for projects we do for our clients, 80% of the talent, the people who work on our team for these projects are homegrown. We develop them. So we take people who are brilliant, who have the aptitude, and we develop them, and they have been successful in completing client projects. And our goal moving forward is to take people with an aptitude, as I said, in critical thinking, writing, developing visual images, as well as technology, and responsiveness, is to transform them into amazing courseware developers and enhancing employability of these candidates who work with us and creating jobs in our communities. With that, I'm going to turn you over to my colleague, Jonathan, the coach, the integrity guy, so that he can give us the what, the why, and the how of the Agile Instructional System Design Practitioner Program. Jonathan.
Gabe, thank you very much. Hello, everyone. Glad you're with us today. So as Gabe just indicated, that I want to give you the what, why, and the how of the Agile ISD Practitioner. We'll start basically with the what being an overview. And if you're not as familiar with the idea of Agile, I just want to sort of set the stage for you before Kimberly shows you a little bit of what the course looks like. The bottom line with the Agile ISD Practitioner program is that it is an iterative approach to instructional design. And the key word there is iterative. And what this means is that it involves repeated, small, incremental steps in the creation of a training course, with each of these iterations making the training course that much better. So the idea is to start building the final training product from the very beginning, instead of trying to deliver it all at once near the end of the project. So these small iterations that we're talking about make room for a couple of things. Number one, we can do quick evaluations and quick changes to the course because there's all these small iterations going on. The advantage of that is it allows for fast pivots to the design of the program if it's needed. These iterations also ensure that the client knows exactly what is happening throughout the entire design process. So when you think about it, Agile has some wonderful benefits to it. And I just want to highlight three real quickly for you. Number one, Agile ISD will allow us to produce higher quality deliverables more rapidly. Second, it reduces the need for extensive last moment revisions. And it allows for greater collaboration with clients and with stakeholders. Now, the why of it. When you think of ICATT Agile ISD, I don't want you to think that this is replacing the ADDIE model. And instead, what it's doing is it's enhancing the ADDIE model. And let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. So let's revisit the ADDIE model for a moment. So the ADDIE model was created in 1975 by Florida State University as a way of providing a framework for creating training for the U.S. Army. ADDIE was built with a linear approach where one phase should be finished and perfected before moving on to the next. The idea being that each step is reviewed before moving forward and signed off on, which means that the process can be a little bit slow and a little bit cumbersome. Another challenge with ADDIE is that it comes from this, well, what happens if I have to backtrack? If something goes wrong, how easy is it for us to get back on track? And sometimes with the ADDIE model, it requires going all the way back to the beginning and restarting. But with Agile ISD, you have all these multiple steps that are often taking place simultaneously. So design and develop, for example, isn't happening one after the other, but instead, it's happening simultaneously. You're designing and you're developing at the same time. And that means adjustments can be made quickly. So Agile ISD does not replace the ADDIE model. And in fact, it's really just an outgrowth of the model because clients are requesting more and more rapid development of training projects. So think of Agile ISD as making instructional design a more fluid process. And because it's fluid, it moves faster. And it's easier, as I said, to pivot when something needs to change. So the how. How is Agile ISD done? Well, basically, there are 4 iterations to this whole process. Now, again, don't think of Agile ISD as throwing away the ADDIE model, but instead helping the instructional designer get to the heart of the training design much quicker. That's done through 4 iterations. Iteration number 1 is to analyze. Iteration number 2 is to design. Iteration number 3 is to develop. And iteration number 4 is to deploy. And again, that design develop I just gave it to you sequentially, but those two, design, develop, can happen simultaneously, which, as you can see, 4 iterations and 2 of them happening simultaneously means we get through the design and development process a lot faster when we're implementing Agile ISD. So rather than assuming, which is sometimes what happens when we're working with the ADDI model, rather than assuming that the initial needs analysis covered everything and that there's going to be no changes required during the design and development process, Agile ISD continuously returns to the design and development phases with all these successive iterations. So rather than creating a single final product at the end of the process, Agile ISD creates multiple iterations in these small increments. With each iteration, the client and the stakeholders looking at, seeing, testing out the course being developed, and going, yeah, we're on track. This gives teams, both the client and stakeholders plus the design teams, the chance to identify issues that were not anticipated and reevaluate features and functions that aren't quite working as we first envisioned. The point here is that it is not possible to know everything about a training project in that initial needs analysis and design phases, nor can every possible change that will be needed be anticipated at the very start. So Agile ISD is all about focusing on results, adding immediate value through these iterations, working in partnership with clients and stakeholders to make sure that we're designing an appropriate solution and doing it as rapidly as possible. So with that as an overview of what the ICATT ISD Practitioner program is all about, I'm going to hand it over to Kimberly, and she's going to give you some specifics about how all this works. Kimberly?
Thank you, Jonathan. So on this slide, you can see a bit more about what Jonathan spoke to with the 4 iterations of the Agile process. And I'm going to walk you through really quickly our approach as well as the content, and then I'll give you a brief walkthrough of what the actual course looks like. So in terms of our approach, we set out to make this Agile course as relevant to real-world work as possible. As Gabe mentioned, ICATT has been using and refining the Agile method for the last 27 years. We consider ourselves true practitioners of the Agile mindset and its practices, so we wanted to use what we're already doing to create an authentic experience. This course is designed to share our secrets and our best practices with the next generation of instructional designers while introducing them to just a way of thinking that really is becoming more and more popular for all of the reasons that Jonathan just mentioned. And as Gabe spoke to, we are searching for ways to provide improved employability. And so part of the approach was also to create hands-on training where the students can practice and build a portfolio as they learn each one of these steps, so that by the time they're done, they're ready to hit the ground running as Agile instructional designers. So in terms of the content, we wanted to keep it in the context of the real world and provide relevant practice. So the course follows a blended or a hybrid model. Lessons and assignments can be completed entirely online in a self-paced environment, but we are also offering a layer of coaching and support through one-on-one feedback on each deliverable. So on this slide, for example, you can see that we have 4 major modules as far as establishing what Agile is and teaching students how to think Agile. Then we also have the Agile design process with those 4 iterative steps. And at each one of those steps, students learn about the iteration. They immediately put their new knowledge into practice and produce a new or a revised deliverable. By the end of the course, they will have created their own course as a work sample they can add to a portfolio. They also will have received feedback at every step that mimics the process that Jonathan spoke to regarding a client meeting, where you're getting feedback on an iteration and you're making changes before you present the next draft, as a way to stay agile, stay flexible, take in the feedback without going too far in the development to where we are, duplicating our work, or we're going into more detail than we need to. Each stage, they get to practice kind of the right level of detail and moving forward quickly. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and open up the course to give you all a taste of what it looks like. And let me just make sure that the sharing follows me here. So on the ICATT website, this course is available. And when you enter as a student, you're greeted with this exciting video about embarking on a mission as an Agile certified instructional designer. Then we move into the first of the 4 modules on the presentation that I just showed you. So we have what's new with Agile and thinking Agile, which again are really designed to provide the background information as well as to explain the transition from the ADDIE model to how can we take those skills and make them more agile for today's needs. And both of modules 1 and 2 have knowledge checks to kind of make sure that the learners are taking away those big takeaways, because Agile has just a couple of things really that make it so crucial in terms of increasing your ability to be flexible and your ability to kind of just speed up an instructional design process that is tried and true. So moving into module 3, this is where the learners really get to dive in deeper and experiment and try it. So they are greeted with iteration 1, which is the analyze stage. Then they are given the opportunity to try it with a real RFP that's available freely online, and using that to analyze quickly and move into outlining a course as well as building a prototype. And all of their work will be submitted to an email address under the ICATT name so that our coaches can then respond with timely feedback. So module 3 follows this format for each of the 4 iterations. And when it's appropriate, we contextualize some additional lessons. So for example, when they get to stage 2 or iteration 2, the design phase, suddenly they're going to be writing learning objectives, and they're going to need to know, how do we make those measurable, and how do we make them relevant based on Bloom's taxonomy of verbs? So what level of knowledge are we trying to incorporate? So that goes on through the rest of the iterations. And at each one, as I mentioned, we have feedback from coaches. We also have an opportunity for them towards the end to do a self-assessment, understanding and making sure that their learning objectives and the learning activities and assessments they're creating are all aligned, which is another important instructional design skill throughout the, whether you're building a course for any subject. And then finally, in the last stage, they'll be doing a peer review. So they'll be introduced to how do you test your course for all of the different components, such as content, functionality, and all everything you see here, and then having their peers do the same. So they'll get to learn from each other as well. Then the last part of the course is really just kind of pointing out, you have done something amazing by completing this course. You have actually already built a work sample. Now, how do you market it? How do you show online what you're capable of? So we have some guidance for that, as well as an opportunity, again, for them to show each other and learn from one another. And then finally, we just included some additional resources. So part of being an Agile instructional designer, for example, ISPI Potomac has some amazing standards that all practitioners should be aware of and know how to apply. We also included some resources for how do you stay in tune with the local or national or even international instructional design community. So we provide some resources here for that as well. And so again, all of this is designed to set up these students for success. When you come to ICATT and our focus is on employability and job creation, we want to create something that is not only going to teach you a specific skill, but is going to set you up for success with work samples, with coaching, with guidance, with even peers, you know, building your network with the other students. And so that's what we have set out to create here. And with that, I'll pass it back to you, Gabe.
Wonderful. So let me put some concluding remarks based on some of the questions that came up through chat, and just kind of put a finishing cap on this. Let me highlight a couple of things. So when we speak about you know, our relationship with the ISPI Potomac, so we are working with ISPI Potomac for credentialing. The standards we follow are at the national, international, ISPI levels. So, so that's kind of one point I want to make. I also want to, let me just kind of make a couple of closing remarks that may address some of the questions that came up. So the people we would like to welcome or enroll in this program are two types. Primarily, we want to enroll people with an aptitude and interest to become instructional design, agile instructional design practitioners. What that means is people who are interested in developing courseware, whether that courseware is online, e-learning, blended, or instructor-led. Okay, so many of us have gone through a lot of self-paced courses. And also many more of us, you know, whenever we want to learn a skill, we go to YouTube. So all of these are good resources. So what we do is we take content to the next level, where content is there, content is staring at you, someone is talking, you know, their heads off, you know, the whole time, but it doesn't mean you comprehend or you grasp the skills. So what the dimension we add is to make learning engaging so that someone can grasp the knowledge and the skills. So that's what we are about. So we take people with aptitude I indicated early on, you know, critical thinking, writing, visual images, you know, some technology, developing online resources, and we can turn them into amazing instructional designers. Why do we believe that? We've done it. Okay, we've done it without any formal program in the past, through coaching and developing, you know, samples and giving them feedback. Now, by having long boot camp, we believe that we can really develop someone in shorter period of time. Okay. Now, let me see. Other points I want to make are, I want to give you some examples of programs we have developed using either Agile methodology or the traditional instructional design methodology. So this is, you know, when you think about this to people who don't have instructional design as a background, this is similar to product development or software development. As people who know, you know, software development or product development, there are two approaches. Okay, one approach is a traditional waterfall approach, where you gather requirements and you analysis and you design and develop, build, evaluate, test, and then implement. Guess what? By the time you test, you know, what you have kind of identified as a need and analysis may have been outdated. And then the alternative to that is Agile methodology for product development or software development. This is very similar or identical, kind of follows that same product development or software development approach, where the traditional method, which is we call it ADDIE, you know, analysis, design, kind of pretty much follows the software development phases. So, you know, this is not to replace, this is to complement. Let me give you an example. We've done both. Let's say if you have plenty of time, let's say you have a whole year. ICATT was once given the whole year to develop an 8-hour class. And some of us on this team have been on that team. So we're hired by one of the Federal Department of Defense agencies to develop this 8-hour class. And we're the whole year. Guess what? When you are doing that, you use the traditional method because you have all the time in the world. However, if you have only 1 week to develop, or one night, or a couple of weeks, or a month, and you don't have plenty of time, and your budget is very limited, you use Agile methodology. And we have, just to give you some examples that this is not kind of pie in the sky, ICATT has delivered data analytics course, a 3-day data analytics course for one of federal agency clients. And for that, we use the Agile methodology, okay, leaner approach to getting an instructor ready. We've done, multiple leadership development courses. We've used this methodology for project management, 5-day project management class. We've also used the same approach for security architecture, 5-day professional development class. Actually, we implemented scaled Agile product owner, product manager we spoke about for one of our clients in a 2-day program. And we pretty much use this Agile methodology, a leaner approach to making it engaging. So these are just some examples. And so, as Jonathan said, the Agile Instructional Design Practitioner program is not intended to replace the traditional method. When you have, enough budget, enough time, you can still use the traditional method. However, if time is increasingly shorter, or you have 0 time, this is the approach that is cost effective. Makes a lot of sense. So that's kind of one thing I want to point out. Now, in closing, I just want to say that, the whole world since the pandemic, or maybe even before the pandemic, has gone virtual. So, we work virtually, we learn virtually. There is a lot of self-paced learning on your own. You learn a skill on your own, and then you have to perform a job. So when that happens, just relying on YouTube, someone, a talking head, or a book you have may not be enough. That learning has to be engaging. I'll give you one example. This morning I met with a financial advisor, who gave me a long lecture, and he said, "You got it? You have any questions?" And since I have this background, I said, "Listen, you spoke and you had fun, but maybe you need to ask me some, knowledge check questions to ensure I follow you and I understand you." So I think quickly what I did was I found an online learning course for what, this gentleman is trying to do with me, and help myself. So that is what Agile Instructional Design intends to do, is in this virtual world where people are working virtually and learning virtually, is to make learning engaging. One of the questions that came up, when, how many people does it require? How many projects can be done using this methodology? This is based on your budget. There are times when it's just you have to deliver this course. Let's say you have this project management class you have to teach. This methodology can be useful when you are alone. Or you may have a team of 5, or you may have multiple teams, one working on the software, another working on the content side, and the other working on the client side. You can be as fancy as multiple teams, or it can be as lean as one person. So it's just like any other product development or software development approach. Now, with that said, I'm hopeful that there are people with an aptitude for this kind of work, okay? Critical thinking skills, writing skills, these are essential, writing skills, kind of visual design, an eye for something to look appealing. And at the same time, people who have some kind of online resource development, website development, people with these skills without any academic background, we can accept them for this program. At the same time, there may be someone with a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, a PhD in instructional design, and maybe they don't know, they just learned academics. Guess what? We can accept them into this program so that they can be hands-on. Someone with a PhD side by side with someone who's gone through our program, both equally being able to deliver an amazingly designed fully engaging program. That's what the ICATT Agile ISD Practitioner program is all about. With that, I want to thank everyone for participating, and we look forward to enrolling people you refer, or if you are interested in participating in the program, you can reach out to us. Thank you, and I want to appreciate my colleagues for doing an amazing job, and you all have a fantastic day. Thank you.